Heffernan. We moved here to North Haven in August 27th, 1962. There wasn't much here except maybe a half a dozen houses at the most. As soon as we walked in, we loved it. We liked it. It was right. It was right on the edge of the prairie. There was nothing on the other side of the fence at the back. In fact, when my mother came from the U.S., she grew up in Minnesota, she said that she saw flowers in the gully behind her house she hadn't seen since she was a child. So it was really pristine prairie.
We got involved in the community because we had boys. They wanted to toboggan and they wanted to skate and all that. And so we spent a lot of time when they first tried to organize the community at the rink. We'd flood that at night when it was bitterly cold and nobody was around, and wondered if we fell down if anybody would find us. But that's how I got to meet so many people in North Haven. And a few of us stepped up and said, we'll coach hockey, just the little kids.
Hockey rink has been here as long as I remember. That was one of the first things. There used to be a program here on weekends that ladies used to set up a concession in the basement of the original hall, and they sold chips, chocolate bars, stuff like that for the kids that were on the ice in the skating program. As long as we had ice, there was always somebody volunteering for that.
The first 2 years we were here, we lived in a duplex up here on North Haven Drive, and actually where the bus trap is was the end of North Haven Drive at that time. When you got up to where the bus trap was, it was all ranch land and farm country then. And so we had 5 or 6 guys who actually sat down at 7 2-hour meetings in our basement, who laid out the arguments and all of the things that was presented to City Council, which resulted in them spending $27 million to buy out the developers on the other side. And the fellow that actually took it to these fellows were fellows that worked in, they were very capable guys that had the ability to make a very strong presentation to council. And that's how North Hill Park was created in its present conformation. If I were to think about the things that I did in Calgary, I think my participation on that board and involved in the process of coming up with the solution was probably one of the highlights of my career, although it wasn't something I did except as a volunteer. I guess the one thing too I would mention is North Haven School has always been a very stable, very well run school from the viewpoint of the people who have sent their children there. And I guess that's another one of the reasons for the success of this community.
What I do find interesting is, even though it is now considered to be inner city, and obviously it goes for another 150 blocks or whatever heading north, it still feels fairly isolated and fairly quiet, like it's a small town city feel. That was brought home to me probably 2 years after moving here. Griffin had just learned to ride a bike, so maybe he was 8 or 9, so maybe we were 2 or 3 years into it. And one of the neighbors drove by and he stopped as I was cutting the lawn, and he said, "I saw Griffin trying to climb on the store roof, so I yelled at him." And I realized that, yeah, it was still, even in the 2000s, it was still sort of a small town feel, and it still had that kind of same sense of community,
So I guess it was 2014 that my husband and I landed in North Haven after a very long search for a home. and we did not, North Haven wasn't on a hit list. We really had no idea it existed. It was beyond our borders and some of those things, but then we drove into the neighborhood for our first viewing, and wow, I was like, this is a good looking neighborhood. Whoa, okay then. Like, so from there we landed and been here since, and no intention of leaving.
I don't know, there's just a camaraderie here. It's like a family in a small town. That's what I'm saying.
When we did want to move, we finally got a little bit more money and decided we needed a bigger home. Our kids said, you can move, we're staying. They were established here, and as a result, we stayed, and we're going to stay forever.
I think everyone, and I do too, find it easy access to many areas. And I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. And no, it's been great here.